Under the Mobil Serv offer, this video is a piece of the engine Boroscope inspection on-the-job training curriculum that will enable you to convert customer needs and opportunities around engine inspections into improvements in safety, environmental impacts, and productivity. The video is the first part of the OJT for engine Boroscope inspection. After viewing it, you should job shadow another competent person completing an engine inspection, and then have the competent person observe and coach you as you complete an inspection. The OJT Participants Guide provides an effective way to guide the trainer and trainee through the experiences to gain knowledge and capability. Andy, a field engineer with ExxonMobil, has been working with this company on a number of Mobil planned engineering service projects. John, the lead mechanic at the pumping station, tells Andy that he'd like them to focus on engine inspection.
We're trying to extend our overhaul intervals if we can. You know, things is getting real tight now, you know, the way the market is, so we're trying to tighten our belts up some. And we normally do our overhauls at 50,000 hours. Well, we have an engine here now that we let go. It's like 16,000 hours past the overhaul time. We don't want any failures.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that, you know, you can take a look, you know, get your Boroscope and check the engine out for us real good and let us know if you think we can make it to 75,000 hours.
Let's go out and take a look at and Boroscope that engine. If you've got someone that can turn over that engine for me, we'll look at all the cylinders, the liners, the heads, the valves. We'll try and look at recession.
Andy works with John to understand the impacts of possible conditions discovered through the engine inspection, so he can later use this information to show how his findings and recommendations can reduce these impacts and produce value for the customer. For some customers, Andy performs routine engine inspections to proactively look for improvement opportunities or detect abnormal operating conditions. Andy and John had been mutually planning an engine inspection. Now, this was their opportunity. To help bring solutions and value to his customer, Andy must be an excellent detective and must collect the data needed to help his engine inspection. Before meeting John again for the inspection, Andy gathered as much of this information as possible. Make and model of the engine, hours on engine since last overhaul, oil drain interval, fuel burn rate, oil makeup rate, who overhauls engine, coolant type, and spark plug replacement frequency. He also gathered prior inspection and analysis reports, like this one. Andy also went over his safety preparations, like customer site-specific training. Many locations have, at minimum, a visitor orientation video. He also read through the Job Safety Analysis, or JSA, to review the risks and determine the best mitigation steps, including PPE. Then, Andy prepared and reviewed his toolkit for the site visit: clipboard or tablet, Boroscope inspection data collection forms, flashlight, digital camera, rags, Boroscope including side 90-degree lens, all power accessories for the Boroscope, and his lock for lockout tagout. On the morning of the site visit, Andy meets with John and Joe to review their goals for the visit and their safety plan. Together, they review the personal protective equipment Andy will need: hard hat, eye and hearing protection, H2S gas monitor, fire retardant coveralls, anti-slip steel toe boots, gloves. Before inspecting the engine, everyone goes to the motor control point, where each puts his own lock and tag on the lockbox. The 6-cylinder inline engine that Andy will inspect was shut down the night before and has cooled. He has to reach directly over the exhaust manifold to insert the scope into each cylinder. Andy observes the valves in the seated position to look for signs of recession or torching, for cracks in the head, glycol leaks, cleanliness, or signs of varnish. At the liner top, Andy looks for signs of metal wiping at the interface between the head and the liner. At the liner middle, he looks for signs of liner scoring and scuffing and whether the crosshatch is present or missing. At the liner bottom, Andy looks for signs of liner scoring at the piston crown and checks whether the crosshatch is present or missing. While Andy is making his inspection, Joe stands by, ready for barring the engine over when Andy needs the parts to move to a new position. Andy uses the Boroscope to look for evidence of piston detonation and/or ash pounding. To document his findings, Andy takes photos and records photo numbers and ratings on the data collection worksheet. With the inspection over and the engine closed up, it's time for Andy to remove his lock from the master control box. At the end of his site visit, Andy meets again with John to give a verbal summary of his findings and recommendations. Andy explains that he will document his findings and recommendations in an engineering service notice. Using that as a foundation, he and John can work together to understand the potential impacts of his findings, as well as the total cost of ownership components. After his site visit and engine inspection, Andy will go over his findings, including photos, to prepare an engineering service report for John and his supervisors. He must work with his customer in cooperation, not only to gather the information, but to form the recommendations that will produce the best value. Andy can demonstrate that his findings and recommendations produce an excellent return on investment and value to his customer. Andy and his sales advisor will use this report to promote our value to other key contacts at this customer. If very well received, this engineering service report could become the foundation of a proof of performance for this customer that could be used to show other customers to convince them that ExxonMobil and its distributors are the right lubricant supplier for them. In addition to helping this customer in this one application, Andy will look to see how he can help the customer apply what they have learned to other similar machines at this facility or across their entire company. By using the standard operating procedure as a guide, as well as the other tools described, Andy can consistently conduct these inspections and deliver outstanding value to his customer.